After countless hours of research, it turns out there are certain things that almost all self-made millionaires do, that almost all poor people don't. And since I'm pretty sure we'd all like to become self-made millionaires, I'm going to share with you 5 things we all need to start doing to become rich. The first thing that almost all self-made millionaires do is they eat the frog first. And if you haven't heard that phrase before, you might be thinking, what kind of weird French self-made millionaires did you get that from? But eating the frog simply means doing that one big thing on your to-do list that you really don't have the motivation to do, that you're probably going to procrastinate on. Maybe that's making some sales calls or starting a new project that you've been putting off, but eating the frog means you dive right in with that most important task first. This is because millionaires know that your motivation is at its peak in the morning. And so they capitalize on that by eating the frog first and doing that big task first thing to get it out of the way, because otherwise it's just gonna keep getting put off and that's gonna cause even more stress. Whereas if you just dive right in first thing every morning with that uncomfortable task on your to-do list, well, you'll be surprised that once that's out of the way, you get a massive momentum boost and a feeling of accomplishment that's gonna carry on out through the rest of your day. So you actually end up getting even more done with the rest of your day because your motivation is so high. And look, even if your motivation does dip later on in the day, doesn't matter. You've already crossed off that most challenging thing on your to-do list. So the day's already been a success. So dive right in first thing. Or as Mark Twain put it, if it's your job to eat the frog, best to do it first thing in the morning. If it's your job to eat 2 frogs, better eat the biggest one first. The second thing about all self-made millionaires that they have in common is that they're almost all long-term focused. So what do you have planned for your future? Lunch? No, I mean like long-term. Oh, dinner. Yep, I know it's hardly a shock, but being long-term focused definitely seems to be one of the key differences about self-made millionaires. But before you click away thinking, John, tell me something I don't know here, well, let me just share with you an important mindset reframe that really helped me and might help you too. So, obviously the things that are easy and fun to do in the short term are normally a lot less beneficial in the long term, right? For example, right now you could literally be watching TV, drinking a beer, and as much as I hope you enjoy my videos, I think we can probably agree that would be more fun. No hard feelings. But I definitely believe this video is going to be way more productive and useful for you, so you've decided to sacrifice that short-term self-indulgence for something more productive. But here's the point I want to make here, because when people talk about this topic, they go, yeah, but you only live once, you've got to enjoy life, haven't you? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm not doing all this productive stuff now because I don't want to be out having fun and enjoying life. I'm doing it because I know that by putting the time in now, I'm going to be able to have way more fun and enjoy life way more in the long term. So whilst they're just sat around praying for that opportunity to go and watch TV because they've got to be working all the time, we who've put in the work up front will be able to be doing what we want. So when I say think long term, don't think of it as giving up doing something fun. Think of it as simply postponing a little chunk of fun right now in exchange for a big chunk of fun later on. And I realize I'm probably preaching to the choir at this point, because if you're watching this right now, you probably already see things a similar way, but it's just a little reminder that self-made millionaires have simply got into the habit of postponing that short-term pleasure in exchange for more pleasure in the long term. And so being self-disciplined and long-term focused isn't actually as boring as it sounds. It actually maximizes your long-term fun and happiness. You've just got to get into the habit of making the right choices now. For example, instead of just chilling in an evening, you might decide that you're going to put in some time to work on that side hustle. The third thing that almost all self-made millionaires do is that they regularly invest in themselves. I've actually noticed that the people who stay millionaires are sometimes a bit more frugal with their money than you'd expect. But when it comes to investing in themselves, that's one area they don't spare any expense. And so I think we can conclude from that that for all of us, it would be a good idea to put aside a bit of money from our earnings, a set percent, to be reinvested into ourselves. And that can mean a lot of different things. It could be paying for classes that are gonna help you get better at a certain skill. It could be investing in a mentor or a coach, or it could even just be buying relevant books that are gonna help you learn something. But the key word here is investment. Self-made millionaires know that by putting money back into themselves and their abilities, they're going to get that money back and more because they're leveling up their abilities to make even more money in the future. And the mad thing here is that someone who isn't making a lot of money is probably going to be quite reluctant to invest in themselves, and yet they're perfectly happy to go and spend that money on something like a watch or a car that gives the impression that they're making a lot of money. Again, it goes back to being short-term focused. So if there's one area wealthy people aren't afraid to invest, it's back into themselves, which I know sounds a little cliche, but just because you're not in the education system anymore doesn't mean you should stop improving yourself and learning as much as you can to get to that next level. So I think no matter what level you're at right now, that's definitely true that you should put aside a little bit of your money and invest it back into yourself to help you improve. The fourth thing that almost all self-made millionaires seem to have in common is they're the doers, not just the dreamers. They're the creators, not just the consumers. Basically, they take action. Ideas are cheap. Execution is everything. I remember I was talking with someone once who was like, yeah, I'm more of the ideas man. I need someone else to actually implement them. And I was like, dude, anyone can come up with an idea. The value is in actually making it happen. Well, what I actually probably said was, yeah, good luck. But people who actually make a lot of money fail forward. They understand that you learn more from your failures than your successes, and so you just have to get started and give it a go and take that action. And I'll admit, in the entrepreneurship world online, I think failure is almost becoming a bit over-glamorized because you hear people saying, oh, I just love failure because I learn so much more from it. And I'm like, come on bro, no one needs to love failure, we just need to accept it. Obviously we want all our ideas to be successful, but very few people get there straight away, and so it's fine if it doesn't work out because it's true, you are then one step closer to knowing what's going to work next time. So this point really just comes down to stop saying, one day I'm going to do that, and just try it, see what happens. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't, but what's for sure is that if you don't try it and don't step out your comfort zone, well then there's absolutely no chance it will work. So you may as well take the risk. Something I'm really focused on right now is the phrase done is better than perfect, and it's something I really struggle with because I like the idea of everything being perfect, but if you're always waiting for some imagined level of perfection, you may be waiting forever because there often isn't the perfect timing or the perfect idea. Sometimes you've just got to get started and roll with the punches, see how it goes. Another example is that a lot of people notice problems, but very few people come up with solutions. And so it's all very well noticing that something's wrong, but only a few select people actually take action to do something about it. Be one of those people and you'll be like the self-made millionaires. The fifth thing about all self-made millionaires is they are very health oriented. And it's funny because when I picture a self-made millionaire, I never think of someone really health conscious who's getting the right amount of sleep every night, going to the gym regularly. I'm picturing someone obsessed with their work, just immersed in their business and has no time for anything else. But actually, when you think about it, of course it makes sense that those people who put in the time to look after their body and look after their mind, well, they're putting themselves in a better position to make more money. And the thing is, we all know health is important, blah, 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 and yet most of us still overlook it. At least I know I do. Hear me out here. So recently I had a couple of days where I was just really off. I just wasn't feeling it, couldn't get any momentum going. But then I took a step back and realized, you know those basic things we need to live, like drinking enough water, getting the right nutrients, getting enough sleep? Yeah, I wasn't really doing them. It's genuinely amazing how much your outlook and mindset and general feeling and well-being can change just by getting the basics right that we often overlook. Like just eating the right food, for example, can massively lift your mood. Here's a video that can help with that if that's something you struggle with. But when I say health, I'm not just talking about food, I'm talking about the whole picture of looking after yourself. And that's what self-made millionaires seem to get right. They seem to spend time meditating. They seem to make sure they have a sleep routine so they're getting enough rest every night. In fact, another thing that literally anyone can do right now to immediately feel better is simply drink more water. Like, imagine if someone came out and said, I've just created a drink that can help you focus more, help you lose weight, and like 100 other benefits. We'd all be queuing up to buy it, take my money, and yet it's free and it comes out your tap. Again, it's something we all kind of know, but we don't really do much about it. So what I've done is I've literally downloaded a free app from the App Store that reminds you every hour to drink more water. And it's actually a 2-for-1 because you'll be going to the toilet so much from all that you'll be having to get up and stretch more, which is, again, another health element we overlook. I don't know about you, but I'm sat down at a computer so much of the day that it's good to actually be getting up every hour or so to stretch and move around a bit, because that's another health element that is massively overlooked by people who are working a lot. So self-made millionaires do seem to dedicate more time into not overlooking those things and really taking care of themselves to put themselves in a position to earn more money. Obviously, I'm not saying that just being healthier and looking after yourself is gonna make you a millionaire. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. But what I am saying is that by doing these things, you are definitely putting yourself in the best position, because when you're mentally and physically sharp, that's when you can do your best work. And so, although it's a simple concept, I really just wanted to reiterate it because it's something I do genuinely forget, and I'm sure other people do overlook it a little bit as well. And although it may sound like focusing on this stuff is taking time away from your work, it's definitely time well invested, because it has a multiplying effect on the quality of your work and the quality of your mood and general feeling. I hope that makes sense, because it's difficult to get wealth without health. It's like a really shit catchphrase. And now for the 6th and final thing you need to do to become a self-made millionaire. You need to subscribe to Young Magnates and join the VIP club for free using the link in the description below. But seriously, although I'm sure you kind of knew a lot of this stuff already, I hope there were some useful reminders or little perspectives here that were actually helpful and can help you make more money. Oh, and by the way, have you seen this or this? Because I've got a feeling you are gonna love those videos. So I'll hopefully see you there. Cheers.